Hi, hello and welcome to Explaining the Meta Skirmish Cav. If you've watched any amount of Total War tournaments, specifically Total War Warhammer, you've probably seen, your favorite pros bring lots and lots of Skirmish Cav, whether it be Marauder Horsemen like we have here, or Pistoliers, or Glade Riders, or what have you. Now, what is it exactly that makes these units so good, and why are they just such a staple in the meta right now? This video pertains primarily to domination, but this information should be applicable to land battles as well. So, Skirmish Cav, for any of you that do not know, are cavalry, usually with 360-degree fire radius, missile attack. So, the first thing that makes it very useful is their versatility. They are a mobile missile unit, which means they can A, pick their engagements, like any mobile unit, as well as take those engagements without taking return damage against melee units, like any missile unit. So they have that going for them. They have both the virtues of a light cavalry and of a missile unit. Taking damage, dealing damage without taking damage, and being able to choose your engagement based on your speed. As well as they have the added advantage of being a missile unit with that speed if they can keep their opponents at an arm's length very effectively without requiring much protection. A more traditional missile unit, an infantry unit, crossbowmen, handgunners, what have you, runs the risk of just being run over. Whether it be enemy cavalry or infantry running at you, you have to protect them. Skirmish cavalry, you don't need to protect them. They can protect themselves for the most part. There are a few exceptions. There are a handful of things that can catch them, but against infantry, against heavy cavalry, they can take care of themselves. Very, very valuable if you have the micro, which we're talking about the top of the tournament scene, so there should be that micro. Now, the main thing that makes Skirmish Cav so incredibly powerful is that they don't really have a counter. So, like I said, they can just poke away at melee units and keep them in arm's length based on their speed, just by virtue of being faster and having range. They can just poke away, and there's nothing a melee unit can do about it unless they're faster, which there aren't many that are. Missile units, traditional missile units like these zombie pirate gunnery mob handguns, what you have here, can trade into them quite effectively at range. They have more models, they have higher damage output, they can kill the skirmish head pretty effectively. But they are what is called a reactive counter, where basically they say, all right, you see this red arc, this is their line of fire, this is the no-fly zone for my Skirmish Cav. So if my Skirmish Cav comes into this no-fly zone, let's see if the AI will actually shoot, which they should. Come on, AI, you can do it, I believe in you. Skirmish Cav, they aren't allowed in this zone, or they're going to get shot to pieces, or they're going to shoot this, okay. But, okay, the AI is not going to be helpful, you get the idea. But Skirmish Cav, with their speed, have the luxury of just saying, okay, I can't come in that zone, but I can come around the side, and I can shoot at these guys. Or I can get around this side, and I can shoot at these guys. Missile units can't be in everywhere at once, and they don't have the mobility to reposition quickly enough to actually punish Skirmish Cav. So Skirmish Cav can almost always manage to find value, even when there are that, air quotes, counter of missile units on the field. So what about artillery? Artillery can be a little tricky. Basically, they're just missile units with extra range, so you just have a bigger no-fly zone. But you can still make that work, especially on domination maps where there are multiple objectives you have to fight over. That versatility to, spawn in, see, okay, my opponent has a cannon over here, so I can move my Skirmish Cav to the far side of the point, take the fight away from their artillery. Or any such, hindrance. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is that Skirmish Cav have options. Their speed grants them options, and the fact they can deal damage without taking any return, the virtue of a missile unit, is also very nice. But also, like I said, they are also very good at serving as a light cav, so now that my opponent's infantry has all moved away from them, these Skirmish Cav can run right over these gun mobs. And so they have decent melee stats in their own right, so they'll do quite well at running these guys over. Now, you don't want to leave them in there as the melee infantry comes around, but if you're using cheaper Skirmish Cav units, say, Forest Goblin Spider Rider archers, you could throw them in, have them kill some archers, and then, leave them in if you don't care about them, or just let them fight, and if, shutting down the missile unit is more important, you can just leave them there. But as is, we've just been able to do so much damage without taking much damage in return. Now, my micro hasn't been great, because I've been, not focused on it super hard, but been able to do a lot of damage and get into the backline without our opponent being able to have a whole lot of agency. Now, this gets a little harder when you add things like enemy cavalry, or dogs, or anything like that in the mix, but these are the basic principles, and they apply even through all of those complications. They just get a little more difficult to execute. Now, the reason Marauder Horsemen in particular are so incredibly strong is that if we throw them into melee, most missile units, when they're in melee, they stop firing. They stop firing, they draw their swords, or whatever melee weapon they have, and they start fighting out in melee. Marauder Horsemen, if we can see it here, are you going to do it for me? Are you gonna? Okay, you're not going to do it for me. They still throw their javelins in melee, or axes if they're the axe variant. I can't see it. Can we see the ammo going down? You see, yeah, the ammo is going down. They're in melee, their ammo's going down, which means that, you know, this row of cav over here is fighting in melee, you know, the front, like, 10 or 20, and the ones that aren't in melee are still throwing. So they have a massively increased damage output in melee compared to most other skirmish cav, which is what makes them such an absolute terror in the meta at the moment. Now, my estimate died because I wasn't paying attention, but that's what makes Marauder Horsemen in particular so incredibly strong, and what is boosting most of the Chaos factions to the top tier of the meta. Anyway, that is the basics of Skirmish Cav. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have other topics you'd like me to cover based on meta, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. I'll try to take some time and explain it. But that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching. If you found it helpful, if you enjoyed, please like, leave a comment, let me know what you want to see in the future. Appreciate it. See you next time.